I'm Chris Bussing. Welcome to my channel. It's committed to helping more people create lives of freedom and impact through success in tech sales or sales in general, the pursuit of entrepreneurship, and the pursuit of self-development. By the way, this is brought to you by Tech Sales Accelerator. Launch your six-figure tech sales career in the next 12 weeks. We have an amazing guest, Jared Robin, the founder. And by the way, Jared, correct me. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, what, Jared Robin? Like Robin like the bird.
Okay, cool. Because I didn't know if it was going to be Robin. I always
it's
cool.
pretty straightforward.
Got it right. Building momentum. But Jared's the founder of RevGenius, and he helps founders grow through community and grow collaboratively. He's an expert at scaling companies from 0 to 7 figures. Right. And I know a lot of the audience out there wants to, get in entrepreneurship and be a founder and grow a business. Imagine that feeling to get to that stage and beyond. So we're going to talk about what that takes. Also, he's a second founding seller at a company that exited. And this is we talk about sales. So we're going to learn some lessons from him on sales too, and also see where the conversation dances to. So guys, I encourage you to like this video and share it with more people who can benefit from the message. Subscribe to the channel and check out Jared. I'm going to link all this stuff in the description, and make sure to connect with him too. So with that, Jared, thank you for being here. Excited to dive in. How's your day going so far? Like what's a typical day in the life?
It's great. Sell all day. That's a typical day of the life of a founder. Evangelize all day. If you're technical, build all day. So like do multiple things all day. How many days are there in one? Just one. But the day's great. I just walked to the local Pilates studio, which was closed, to try to get my partner a Christmas present. She wants to start up. It's 2 blocks away from my office and 2 blocks from where we live. So it's the perfect middle ground. And they were closed. So I just walked right back, but just they weren't closed. The door was locked. Just the there and back was super chill, and super grateful and humbled to be this part of the year. I've worked so hard, and but also being easy on myself.
Well, I can tell you're a mindful person. You're grateful. You're compassionate towards yourself, and you're a grinder. And you mentioned like multiple days in one, and maybe you're so effective and productive that you could fit a few days of productivity in one day. But there's so much to unpack here, even in how you just open this conversation. And I love that you're getting your partner a gift. And the question though is, are you going to do Pilates with her? You get pretty toned, or is that just going to be her thing?
Maybe I'll try it. She's getting the membership. I go to the gym 5 days a week. I walk 10,000 steps a day, and I eat. I count my calories, not as strict as I was a bit ago, but strict enough to be going directionally in the correct direction.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting back to counting macros, because I did in college. I got shredded up, and I got a little bit of, like, I'm in good shape, a little bit of the gut, and I'm thinking, do I want to take it to the next level? But that is, I bet
you could do it lightly, 10,000 steps a day. The protein macro is the most important, and then just keeping under the calories, right?
You know what? Just focus on the protein. That's what I hear.
Just focus on the protein. Don't worry about the fat and the carbs, because frankly, if you're under the certain calories, it's going to take care of itself. Like if you're under 1,800 calories a day, let's say that's like the deficit, you're not going to eat too much fat or carbs. I promise you, if you hit that protein macro.
That's a good point. And it's funny, because I've been talking to my buddies about this. Eat enough protein and you're going to be satiated. And that seems to be like that one thing you can do from a diet perspective that makes everything else a little easier, and you don't have to overanalyze. So by the way, I'm sure you have many habits that you implement that help you be effective as a leader, as a founder. What are like the core habits, man, that you practice in your day? I feel like this is just going to be actionable for the audience.
So the most important thing I do, or I focus on in being a leader, like I've read all the books. The books are good. All of them. No, not all of them, but like a good amount. The books are good. I've done 10, 20,000 steps a day and like all of that, like you will lose weight and that's great. And just consistency is good. But the biggest gap that I see most leaders have, like the best leaders are consistent as fuck, to be honest, but they're not consistent in like always loving themselves and like doing like the spiritual work. Like across the board, you could probably group a lot of salespeople in there too. We're like a crazy bunch. And go to market professionals. Why stop there? And why stop there? Like everybody at a company. Like how many top performers are meditating every day? And you gave an anecdote before of somebody that hit like 1 million in sales or whatever and was like, like first and foremost, we need to realize that there's nothing out there to achieve to make us feel awesome, whole, like content. Like that's a big unlock. And that was in the beginning of my entrepreneur journey. I'm like, I think it all started. I said, I'll know I made it when I have nothing left to do but to give. And then I pause and I'm like, shit, what if I never make it and I can never give? And then I paused again and I said, what if the secret to making it is giving now before you have it? Right? Because I'm like, wow, like I can control that and getting more. So cool. So like giving, but then early state. So I was President's Club at FedEx, and you don't just make President's Club if you're 100% a goal. You have to be in the top 1% in the world of FedEx reps. There's some President's Club if you're at 100% or 120% or whatever you're in, and I like that. That's fun. Like everyone can have a participation trophy for hitting 100%, but there's only one NBA champion, right? Like, and there's only like, and I don't mean to be competitive, but like I was the number one rep in the country out of 500.
Wow.
And I sold the same thing, a perceived commodity. So I learned how to sell value and all of that. But when I went into the startup world, I went to a seed stage startup. Because I went through all of the shit, like no one thought I could sell SaaS. Meanwhile, I'm like implementing full warehouse management systems for the biggest e-commerce shops in the country. And like they couldn't, because it was like old school software. I'm like, by the way, tracking a package is web-based. Like, come on, like what are you doing? And the irony is SaaS is like subscription based, when in reality I did usage based, which full circle is like the new thing now. I'm like, you guys are something else. But anyway, I got in, I took like an early stage role and the product didn't work. So for the first time in my life, and it didn't work, but like I knew if it could. So I'm in a conundrum because like I can't go without any results to another SaaS company. It's already so hard to get in. Or another technology company, because I guess SaaS has to have recurring payments of no, it's so fucked. But like, because I had no results, right? Like, and I'm like, I have to stay. And for the first time in my life, me failing was out of my control. And that was like a weird feeling, right? Because I'd failed before, but it was just like, I fucked up. Like, that type of failure is like getting a bad grade in school. It's like, it's on you. If I didn't hit quota at FedEx, it was on me because FedEx works. Like not only does it work, it's the best shipping product in the space. So if I'm not selling it, I probably didn't lean in, listen, maybe work hard enough, maybe didn't do what they table stakes, right? And early, I hadn't done the table stakes. Like I played sales instead of did sales. And then I figured it out and something snapped and I did well. But now I'm in tech, and for the first time in my life, I'm going to fail. And I feel like it's not my fault because, wow, it was hard. And the CRO was giving us like the wrong results that I was sharing with clients. And I'm like, fuck this. I'm not going to even sell because I don't know who to believe here.
Product didn't work, you said. So it's like,
It didn't work. So like, I'm like, hey, we're at 30% ROI, like gain in revenue and blah, blah, blah. And then somebody's like, yo, those numbers aren't right. And I'm like, what? So what happened at that point is I imploded and I couldn't sleep through the night. And I got like real nostalgic and real everything. And that caused me to go internal because otherwise I had a prescription of anti-anxiety medicine that I honestly actually needed. And I don't mean to say that it's not important for folks, but for me, this was like something new. And it felt like I wanted to, without medicine, try to figure it out and have medicine as a crutch if I couldn't. And I realized that's very real for a lot of people to actually need it.
It's like I actually went through that. There was a point in the pandemic where I had a clinical depression and I actually needed some help. And I can think of literally 2 neighbors recently in the past few months that admitted that like they had to take some medication. But I understand that feeling. For a while I resisted it, man, because I was like, oh, this is a crutch and I should handle this on my own. But it's okay to ask for help and have that compassion sometimes.
Yeah. So I couldn't agree more. I couldn't sleep through the night without my heart racing. I had to sleep with the lights on because I was so effing scared of the dark.
Dude, wow.
And all this happened out of seemingly nowhere. Like it was triggered by all this shit, but like, let's be real, it started early age. So like at this point, I realized I had to do something because I couldn't like go day to day through the day. Like my heart was racing 24 hours a day. I was sleeping 2 hours with my heart racing those 2 hours too.
Wow.
And read a book. It helped. Read it like 12 more times since over the years.
What book?
The Presence Process by Michael Brown.
Okay.
It gave me a process, helped me with meditation and stuff. And ultimately, you know, before we hopped on, you know, we were talking about like, you know, I want to do this before doing this type of vibe, like career path. I wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was a senior in high school. I took like a course of senior high school. I almost went to college for entrepreneurship, but ended up going somewhere different. I majored in supply chain management because I thought it was going to help me be an entrepreneur the most. And I decided to go into sales after college. And what happened was, as a fallback, it took me further away from entrepreneurship, and it probably took me 15 years before I actually became an entrepreneur that the universe pushed me in. Wow. So if I give any advice, do what you want to do. Day one. I said, remember the example I gave? Like,
yeah. Let's talk about that because Jared, like this channel really is focused on helping people, 1, break into tech sales to make 6 figures, 2, you could probably become a deep 6-figure earner and then go into entrepreneurship. And maybe today we can throw this on its head. And I just want to show the audience we're not tied to like one specific path on why you shouldn't get into tech sales first if you want to be an entrepreneur, maybe. So share that story and but we can riff from there.
Yeah. So like entrepreneurship for me has been a passion. Like, did I want to make money? Yeah. On some level, I've wanted to make money, right? Making 6 figures, especially like more than 100K, like multiple 6 figures, 200K plus, it's not a cakewalk. And every year it becomes harder. And I want to put it out there. So like, if you go down that path, it better be for 2 reasons, not just the money reason. And anything you do, I think needs to be for at least 2 reasons. Money is cool to be one of them, but if money is the only reason, there's a chance that's not what you actually want to do. Just like be very real and have integrity with yourself. So like entrepreneurship was for me. And it was because it was creative. There was lots, like I remembered I liked the lemonade stand.
You had a lemonade stand?
As a kid, I loved having lemonade stands and like doing that. And I wanted to create like a car dealership, not a car dealership, like a car detailing business as a senior in high school, charge people $100. And I never thought about having a shit ton of money. I thought about having like more than enough money. I didn't even know what that meant. I knew it was probably not a million. I read Think and Grow Rich once, and I'm like, 500K is my number a year. Haven't hit that in a year, but I digress. And, so the story we were saying was, I wanted to be an entrepreneur at 18. I went to college. I went into sales. I got a different job, a better job. Eventually I made 6 figures in sales, and it took me simultaneously for, 2 things happened. One, I didn't get like financial freedom, early stage company with a product that doesn't work in tech. And I took a pay cut on the base salary, wasn't financial freedom. And I think I could have had an easier path. I took a harder path because at the time it was easier for me to get into. But I could have just went to entrepreneurship and fucking had not financial freedom from go. The quote was Roger Avery, a director in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's like good friend, and they've done some movies together, like True Romance, Reservoir Dogs, and Pulp Fiction. He was like a PA on set. I think it was for the TV show Cops, which was like pretty badass at the time. And he was asking the director, like, how do I become a director? The director said, what do you want to do? Be a director? How do I do it? Do I be a PA? Do I do this or that? And the advice the director gave back was so potent. He goes, just be a director. Whatever that means to you, just be a director. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, just be a fucking entrepreneur. Even if that means go around and do what you think it is to be an entrepreneur, start with that. Then you'll realize if you have no money in your pocket, how to figure out to put money in your pocket, whether that's a service or a product of any kind. Then you'll realize you have to sell that service or product for more than it costs you. And you'll get smarter along the way. And then before you know it, you're going to be an entrepreneur, just like Roger Avery was a director. So he, was going around town, like, and how the story went was, so he'd go to parties, say he's a director, like, what are you directing? Like, nothing, whatever. He had some like side hustles. And eventually, very quickly, somebody asked him to rewrite a movie or like edit or whatever, be like the writer. And he did a great job. And he got bigger, like writing roles like that. And then before you knew it, he jumped in. So like, I don't want to say he just said be a director till he found that, but it did help him skip like a lot of the minutia and like jump right to the writing. And they gave him bullshit writing jobs in the beginning, just like they'll give you bullshit clients in the beginning. Anybody who's a founder that says that they've never had a bullshit client or customer, like literally stepped in shit. Everybody's had not the right customer, the worst experience, all of this on the way to the good shit. You're going to learn a lot more doing the thing than not. And that goes with career progression too. If you want to be a founder, try to sell something. Like I'm looking at my desk for things I could try to sell as a starting point. So yeah, that's that.
So don't necessarily think you need a middle step. Like I'll do this first. Like it could even say I'll get into tech sales and then be a founder if you really want to be a founder. Now I will acknowledge it is a smart strategy. You get into tech sales, make some cash, build a network, develop transferable sales skills. Because as you said, the people who sell more than sellers are founders. You're selling all the time. So that's valid, but it's kind of a paradigm shift for someone who's like really hungry to be a founder. You don't have to put in a middle step. You can just go do the thing. And I think in life, there's too many times where we know, like we have a dream and we're at point A and we need to get to B and we create like a C, Z, you know what I'm saying? Like all these intermediate steps. And honestly, the getting A to B the fastest is doing the hard thing, isn't it? Which you said is getting in there and you're going to deal with bullshit clients and you're going to struggle. But do you feel like you just everyone has to pay that tuition for success?
Well, here's the deal. you're not going to be as good at the beginning. So like you're going to step into some mediocre situations by chance. But I'm thinking about like if I'm on if I'm an SDR, I have like 8,000 LinkedIn followers because I'm posting all the time, and I'm done being an SDR. I'm like, I want to be a founder. You know what I do? I fucking reach out to brands. I'm like, give me like $300 to make a post. 10 posts in a month, you're at 3K MRR. That's 36,000 a year. Um, you might be at 50,000 salary. You've almost replaced it. So now how do we level that up? Right? Like, how do we, well, one, you could ask for more and figure out how to do that and get to like $500 a post. And sure enough, like, and I'm just saying like one real easy strategy to not even need to build a product or have an agency. But then another strategy might be like, yo, you might come up with like a lot of homies along the way and be like, I know like a shit ton of people at like 10,000 LinkedIn followers. Let me ask these companies for $400 a post. Let me pay them 300. Let me get 100 off each of them. So now you might be at 300 a post. You might have 5 people that you're each making 100 a post on each of them. Now you're at 500 plus 300. You're at 800. Do that 5 days a week. That's 4, 8, 12. That's $16,000 a month. Fucking hustling. Don't get me wrong. Next month that might be half.
16K a month though, right?
Right. Like, and that's taking the weekends off. So like, you see how I'm hustling to that? I'm hustling. And then I'm like, fuck. By about month 6, I'm like, this is great, but I can't even enjoy this money I have coming in. I'm doing better than an SDR, but I'm nervous that it's not going to be here tomorrow. Is there a way I could just go on retainer with people for like 3K a month and handle this and like not nickel and dime the 100? Like, just pay me $3,000 a month. Can I get 2 or 3 clients and just do like all of this for them and make 6 to 9 grand a month, like a little easier way, a little easier, and then figure out how to make that 3 of 5 and get 15K a month with 3 clients like that. Now I'm at 180K. I was an SDR, bro. Like, this is good. And then it's like, oh, cool. And then here's the key. You're in the fucking game. And now you're like figuring out efficiencies, how to get bigger deals, your name's getting out there if you're doing good, how to get better returns. So I just became an entrepreneur without building a product or anything. And then let's say like you become really good at sharing the results, right? Like you're better than anybody. You realize that, wow, all these other influencer agencies kind of are behind the 8 ball. And I'm just like spending all this time possible on helping them build the right campaigns. And I'm noticing that I'm giving them a return. So you get more clients, but like maybe this Google sheet you've been presenting them with the results can be productized in some way. And you're like, you know, like, you don't even need me anymore. Just pay me like $100 a month. And you could connect it with my network. They're going to give me 10% of anything that comes through, and we could figure out how to scale. And now all of a sudden you run a marketplace, right? Like, I mean, that's just pure hustle. And here's the thing. If you're in sales and you're good, you'll make, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're going to make 10 to 20% on average of anything you sell, like all in, including your base salary, maybe 20%. So you sell $1 million. In general, you'll make around 200K, give or take, right? Would you say, like, okay, you could find a product.
In my company, we have like 10% commission.
Mm-hmm. And your base salary might also be 10% of your goal. So if your goal is $1 million,
salary is good, especially at the right tech company, right? With enough years, like I'm 10 years in, you could, you get a nice base, you know.
In general, you're at 20% from base and commission of what you sell, give or take. You sell your goal is 1.5 million. You should be at around 300K if you hit it. Now, if you're above that, great, you're on an awesome comp plan. If you're below that, look for a new gig, right? Like that's roughly.
And this is for a account executive that has some experience. You're not just like a
account executive that could hit $1 million quota.
Yeah.
So let's say you do that, right? And let's say you're hitting 200K. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But the product that you sell is outside your control. The commissions are outside your call. So you're making 200K. You realize if you did your own thing, services thing, and you only sold 400K, you make 400K, you make double, right? And you sold 60% less and you made 100% more. Yeah. Now it's like, fuck, I got to take this bet. I got to make this bet. If you're that hustler, make the fucking bet. So even if you do 80% less in this new thing, you're equal to where you're at. I didn't sell 1 million. I only sold 200K. Wow, wow, wow. You made the same money, motherfucker, and you're in the game.
What did it take to bet on yourself? Because that's the thing.
I had to lose my job. Yeah. But like, let's make it like, it's not easy to sell 200K on your own, but like you could hustle and figure it out. So like I lost my job. I was too scared to bet on myself because I like the level of security. Yeah, it was nice having $100,000 or more base salary. Yeah, like you could live on your base salary even if the product doesn't sell, and that was great. That was great, and I think the fear was the reason why I didn't do it. Fear of being broke, fear of like all sorts of like anti-security stuff.
It's like, valid, by the way, because you do literally give up your security.
That's give up all your security. And I think what it comes down to is, are you going to be on the street if you give all this up? And I didn't have a nest egg, really. I mean, really? I think I had nothing.
No nest egg.
Saved. No. I had lived in office buildings and shit. Like I did it as hard a way as possible.
You're in New York?
Yeah. I was living in New York on like on unemployment during COVID as I was starting RevGenius. My rent was, I was making $2,000 from unemployment.
Yeah. Wow.
My rent was like $1,900. I had like the best deal ever. So I had like $100 to myself. So I should have probably given up my apartment. Damn. Yeah, those are the dynamics. And I was dipping into the inheritance. My mom passed away, and if she didn't, I would have had literally nothing. But credit card debt. And I've done it before. So this is why it was like really hard for me, especially because I didn't have any money in the bank. When I say like no money in the bank, I mean like no money in the bank. Hitting overdraft monthly type shit. And I am not there anymore, I'm proud to say, but I could get there again. But like it's the appetite for risk has to be there. The desire has to be there. And then eventually the secret sauce, going back to the beginning with anything sales or entrepreneurship related, because both of them are like very, very
they're synonymous.
They're scary. They're both filled with fear. Both of them have some scare. So to speak, sales way less than entrepreneurship, but like you have to sell.
Yeah, you're right. It's like they both have a risk, rejection, failure, but sales is more mild than entrepreneurship is really risky. So anyways.
Yeah, but like the work I did meditating and all of this made it a little lighter, made it possible.
Yeah.
Made me stay in the game. And now I can honestly say I have no fear. Like you give me $0 and take everything away, no matter how little things I have, I'm okay. I know how to fight from that position, but it's not even a fight anymore. That's how I used to think. I know how to fight from that position, but like I I know how to be calm now and realize that the universe has a plan for me
Mm.
and everything is for my benefit. So like that is the secret sauce to entrepreneurship, is being like even keeled. And the only way to get there is to go inward and to figure out how to be present, which is a continuous journey for me, but like I've done a lot better. And to give love to yourself and others.
Mm.
There's so many great salespeople that are just fucking dicks. And they'll close deals. And I had a manager once I ran away from. We went to a conference together, and we had rooms in different hotels. He booked them, and like once we got there, we saw each other in the airplane. He's like, "Peace." I'm like, "It's like, yeah, do your own thing." I'm like, "Wow, talk about not aligned." Like my sales leader didn't even want to be around me.
Wow. Yeah, there's people that are dicks. There's also people that are just miserable on the inside. So they're not dicks, but they're unhappy, even though they're making a lot of money.
Mhm.
So if anything, like something I'm going to do after this podcast is I'm going to do a meditation in honor of this podcast. And a call to action to the audience is take a baby step and meditate today after you watch this. And hey, maybe you could string that together into 2 days, maybe string it into a week, a month, a year, etc. Do you have any thoughts, Jared, like since meditation and mindfulness is so foundational to success in life and entrepreneurship, for someone who's new to meditation or have thought about it but hasn't got involved, like what are some practical tips to start and build momentum?
Consistency. If you don't, like, you can consistently go to the gym, but you can't consistently meditate. It's the same shit with a different muscle, right?
Yep.
Remember that. So many people say, yeah, I'll preface this by saying so many people say I can't meditate. Like I get uneasy halfway through. That's the reason why you should do it. I can't lift a dumbbell, but I want to have biceps. That's the reason why you should probably lift a dumbbell, and even if it's a light dumbbell. People also say I meditate my own way. Okay, tell me more. I meditate when I walk. I meditate in yoga class or whatever. That's a cop out, right? Like I do chest while I'm sleeping, chest exercise while I'm sleeping. What? Stop it. Or like, I just flex my chest when I'm sitting at the desk, and it's going to have the same impact. Like,
That's
okay, I get it. Let me read in here. You're taking the easy way out because you don't want to bench press. I'm telling you, the bench press will get you there, period.
yeah.
And flexing at your desk won't, but okay. It's ego, right? So like, how do you get past ego? It's doing the fucking thing. You know how to meditate? You sit in a chair, you turn the lights off, you make it real quiet, and you just breathe in and breathe out. And set a timer for 15 minutes, no less than 15. And if you are uncomfortable halfway through, and I guarantee the people with the most friction will be the most uncomfortable. I was. Just keep going. Nobody has ever died from breathing. I don't think, right?
I don't think anyone has. And you know what happens with me is I want to get it over with and be like, okay, let me start my day. So that's a whole nother thing to say, no,
Ask.
I don't need to do that. This is important. Let me sit here and that can wait, so that there's something to be said for that version too of resistance.
Here's the awesome thing, because like I felt exactly how you feel, and then you could talk about it the other way. It's not important. It's important to do it. It's not important to know why you're feeling a certain way to know. It's important to ask the question. So like if you're feeling anxious to get it done, it's beneficial to just ask, like in your head, why am I anxious right now? I wasn't anxious yesterday. And then just keep breathing. What do you think about? Think about this room. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your nose. Just keep doing it. A thought comes in that makes you feel uncomfortable, be with it. Ask why. And a crazy thing happens. The answer comes to you, not when you want it, but it comes to you. So like my first time, and not my first time. Okay, so check this out. My first time meditating, I'm sitting on a couch and I'm like chill. Like I got this. Like I'm chiller than I typically am. And now I'm way chiller than I was then. But like I'm just like I got this. Like 15 minutes, comfortable. I had roommates at the time. Nobody was home. Let's do it. And halfway through, I had a phone next to me keeping track of the time. Halfway through, my phone buzzes, like vibrate. And I'm like, oh, damn. I didn't turn off the sound. I should have, but it doesn't matter because I got this. Like, really great, meditating, really great. Out of nowhere, the room started becoming harder to breathe. And I noticed that. I'm like, there's nobody else in here. In 5 minutes time, it shouldn't be that much harder to breathe. Like even if somebody jacked up the heat, it takes way longer than that to like kick in. Like what's going on? And I'm like, it's harder. And I just started breathing through it. And then I started bawling, crying. And the answer that came to me, like why I was so bothered by this was the question, or like, why is it so hard to breathe? Was because I had like a perfect situation where everything was perfect in the room, but now the phone buzzed and it reminded me of my mom who wanted me to be perfect. And I'm like, holy shit, I need to meditate way more. Like, I'm like bawling and I'm like, that's the reason. And then like later, I couldn't get out of a relationship. I meditated towards it, and it was because my fear of letting go. I lost both my grandparents when I was 4, like 4 days apart, and all of this. And like you integrate a lot of your fears, and like fear is ultimately your own fear is ultimately what blocks you from not being open to an adventure or to doing something hard or doing something that's meant for you, because the universe is ready to give you the journey that you desire. It, you you want to be a multimillionaire, you might not be able to pick the time. Apparently it'll take you there, but I mean not what you desire but what you need, I should say, right? So like you'll never be put on the street if you follow the flow. um you'll be uncomfortable at times, you'll be growing, but like you'll never um be proverbially out there, like. And then you learn that what authentic joy is there's happiness, which is like laughter and fun and like a time of rest. You're fucking chilling when you're happy. And then there's like unhappiness or discomfort, which is the only time growth can happen. Mind you, growth doesn't happen in happiness.
You're right.
It doesn't. But hey, I vibe with happiness. Like that's fucking great. I don't need to grow. So like if all you have are two options, either chill out, laugh, play, or the other option is grow, and your whole life is going to be one of these two things, and you realize that, that's pretty fucking badass. Right? Like it's like, hey, I want to be like, give me that happiness like right now. I don't want to grow anymore for a minute. Don't get me wrong, but like even still, you're growing, and like that's why like Jocko Willink, right? Like the
Yeah.
Navy SEAL. I don't know if he meditates or not, but like he gets it. Like something bad happens. What does he say? Good.
Yeah, I like that
Good.
one.
Good. It's a different way of looking at it. Like kill people in Baghdad way, like hardcore, but there's a lot of similarities, right? Just like it is what it is, and it's not bad. It feels bad, but you're gonna grow. And I love how he says it too. He's not like rah rah good. He's like good. Got it. Let's go.
Let's respond productively. This will work for me. There will be an opportunity in this. I love that mindset of his whole thing is just taking ownership, especially around how we respond to the bullshit that comes at us in life.
Yeah, I'd be curious to speak to him spiritually because I sense that he's probably spiritual in a way that you wouldn't expect because he's kind of badass and like kind of heavy with it, so to
Yeah.
speak. Like, but I bet he's a very spiritual person.
I bet he is too, and that would be an interesting podcast guest one day.
It would be interesting going in that direction with him. Like,
yeah.
like you talk about this. Let's unpack that, and like let's unpack that like emotionally.
That would be different because I don't think we have conversations out there with Jocko digging into that emotional aspect. But what a cool conversation that we've had so far. Like very enlightening, inspiring, and actionable too. And I'm looking at the time as I always do and managing it. It looks like we got a good chunk left, about 20 minutes. And I did want to ask you a little bit about your style of sales and some of the keys to being a good seller. And then, probably shift back to talking about RevGenius and what that's all about and more like, growing a business from 0 to 7 figures. So can we talk about sales now? Like how would you describe your sales style?
Chill. Like I'm a homie. What that means is, I listen. I'm very empathetic to things. And I came up as like a relationship building seller. So like this whole like sales in a box and like sales methodologies, I think are great, but I think they kind of take some of the relationship and the personality of the individual away. So like, yes, you need organized and uniform stages to a pipeline, and you need a general sales method. Like at FedEx, it was called READY: research, engage, discover, develop, demonstrate, initiate. Like they're like very vague. But it was kind of cool because like it pushed you through, but it also allowed you to be you. So I would literally go in and build like the best relationships with everyone in my territory. Even if I didn't have their business, they opened their door for me to come in. Now I was fortunate at the time, and I'm talking FedEx in particular, where everybody knew the company I worked for. So like if you're in that situation, take advantage of it because they're going to let you in the door, even if it's just to keep their current supplier or partner honest, right? So like come in, like continuously build the relationship. And what that helped do as well there, and I'll share how that like transferred over, because things had to change. Like when I worked for a company that nobody knew my company name.
And this was the early stage SaaS, the seed stage.
Yeah, totally different. But I learned how to sell value selling. I sold the same product that was more expensive list rates than the competitor. It was a perceived commodity, and how I differentiated was, one, I became part of the product. Right? Like people knew I was on my P's and Q's and I was going to be accountable, follow up, and be sharp. I think you have to do everything that's in your control as well as you can. And I did that. I'd like walk in and like people would be like, Jared, what's up? Let me see pictures like of your weekend fiascos and like you and your friends and stuff. And then I'd be like, yeah, what's up? Can I make coffee? And I'd pause. I'd be like, you realize I have to sell you at some point, right? Like that was like our relationship. And and it was great. And it was cool. And like just being a homie like that, it's like, hey, like, let me see what you got. Let's look at mode optimization, meaning like, oh, are you overpaying without having to give discounts, for instance? And this is selling value, and this is like me being a part of the product. So like I'd go into an opportunity and they might be sending 300 overnight packages a day. And that opportunity, each one of those overnight packages might be worth $20. So like $6,000 a day across 250 days. wow, that's, you know, a 6-figure opportunity. Great. And I'd be like, you realize if you just sent this on ground, like I'd look at the distribution of where they were shipping and be like, do you need to be there the next day at 10 a.m. or is it okay if you're there by 5 p.m. the next day? And they might say like, yeah, it just needs to get there the next day. Like, you realize if you sent this in our ground network, instead of $25 per package with like a 50% discount, I could give you a 0% discount and it would be $7 a package and you'd save 66%. Like, whoa. Now they could also do that with their current supplier, FedEx, but like there's a trust that was built with me.
Yep.
And some of them would do it with their current supplier, but like, oh man, would they have trust? Like, holy shit, like you just cut our shipping costs without giving us discounts. Like, wow. You're an advisor, you're a consultant. Like, that's what a consultant really is, everybody. Everyone says sell like a consultant. I just say those motherfuckers 66% and they don't even have to use me. And they didn't pay me anything. They fucking used me, right? Like, that is a consultant where you're giving so much fucking value. So like, they'd be like, oh yeah, fuck, we want to do with Jared. So cool. How?
Hydration is key.
What's that?
Hydration is key.
Oh yeah, I have like half a gallon here. And pardon me, I have I'm speaking a mile a minute because I'm on Celsius today because I didn't sleep so well. So I took like a Celsius like an hour ago because I wanted seltzer vibes with the extra energy.
Yeah, my friend actually did, and she had some Instagram posts where she was promoting it. You know, they're big on that. I had a couple of coffees, and
it's crazy. I had a couple of coffees and that, but like, you know, consultative, homey, like all that, like, you know, it's just giving people the real. Like, I speak to companies, both big and small, but even the big ones, I'm like, you know, frankly, if I were you, I'd pay. This is how I would hack our pricing, right? Like, I would do this, this, and this. I got a 100K plan. I would take us for 20K and make us earn it. And when you speak like that, like everybody's trying to sell them the 100K. Like when you're not, one, you get the deal on faster. And I can't say this a lot better. 20K today is better than 50K maybe tomorrow. I'll say that again. 20K today, being a homie, like, let's just fucking get it on. Let's do it, is better than 50K maybe tomorrow. Because that 50K is not coming 100% of the time. It might not be coming 50% of the time. That 20K, like two in the hand, like whatever, like just be that homie, hook them up, give them discounts you could give, even if you don't have to, just to like make them feel warm and cozy.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to give that discount. Yeah, but I gave it to that person last week, and I want to get started off because I really love your brand, and like, talk, like, just be a fucking homie and close the fucking deal. Right? Like, it's funny. Our minimum like contract value at RevGenius is like 20K-ish. But I went through a period where like I was just like, let me just close like 5 to 10K deals. And my deal velocity went through the fucking roof. Our revenues went up and people like made bigger deals. I'm like, what? Like, and the relationships grew. I'm like, this is fucking cool. I mean, it's hell closing 12 to 15 deals a month. Don't get me wrong, but like it was relatively easier and the revenues went up and it was fucking cool.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So to take us home in this conversation, I did want to dig into your experience selling SaaS and that transition. Were there any other things you added on to your ability to build relationships, be the homie, be consultative? Because that was great, by the way. And my sales style is very in alignment with that, what you just described. So is there anything, let's see if there's anything else to learn from selling SaaS, and then let's take it home with RevGenius.
Yeah.
About the business, how it works, what it's about. So let's talk about any other lessons from your SaaS sales experience.
One, pick a tool that's different at Go, right? Like if you pick like a Me Too type of technology, I promise everything is going to be harder.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
So like when I sold predictive analytics and like the hottest shit, so to speak, even when it didn't work, when it started working, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. Like, in the sense that conversations and meetings were really easy to get because like we were doing something so unique with it, and we had really good investors lined up, even though we only had like $1.5 million seed round. And like I was teaching people where the market was going. And that's because partially of the product I was selling, right? Like if FedEx, like going back to FedEx, a normal product, like it's same as others, but they kind of were different. And if you saw that, you could stack like it starts with a product you take. You want I mean, a really good product that's different from the others in a way that's beneficial, not just different to be different, but a way that your prospects need it to be different, right? So, like, perfect example, when Salesforce came out, they created like a category king with it. They had a different point of view. You might have been selling SAP. Like if you were going to go into CRM today, would you want to go for like the leader or somebody selling like on-prem CRM, like from yesterday? It's just going to be fucking harder. And you want to be competing for the market share. So like today, what I would do, like I would work for a category king. Like, so like I gave a couple examples back then, but I'm like, I can even hammer it home even more. If I want to sell international payment solutions, I'm going to work for Deal, not Remote or Multiplier. Okay.
Buddies might have 2 friends who just went to Deal that are local, and 100%, man. That's funny you mentioned that.
You pick Deal over Multiplier or whatever, because those other companies are me too. They're fighting for 25% of the market. Every deal you go into, no matter how good of a salesperson you are, is going to be harder. So like, I'm going to go work for DHL when FedEx is crushing it. The DHL reps had it way harder than us.
So to clarify, the Me Too is the ones that are trying to emulate the category king, or for the ladies, category queen for the ladies. And so you want to find the category king. Like I think of Snowflake,
right? Like
Databricks. I was talking with someone today about data companies. They have the data lake house that's a little bit different, and they're the leader for that specific niche. And like Navan is like a leader for payments, or I forget what they do, but they're leader. So you get the
good. How many reps have you spoken to that are absolutely fucking killing it? You think they're the best, and you look at their resume, you're like, is it you or is it the company?
We can't give ourselves too much credit. I realize at this stage, 10 years in, it's like I'm not this, like I'm a good seller, but like there's certain principles, there's habits, there's execution that you can apply to be successful. But a huge part of success is the company. You know, it's like, oh, so what if I have like a unique personality, but it's like, technically I'll admit, I realize, and this is good to realize, salespeople are replaceable. We're replaceable, and that's okay. Like we'd be very good, but I do give so much more credit than ever before.
Dude, like you see it all the time. The first thing is picking a winner, because I worked for FedEx. I worked for this next company. And then the third company I worked for, I fucking was mediocre. And I had so little security. And I knew I took that job solely for the money. And I felt bad for a few ways. Like I'm getting on calls with other people, like against the competitors, and I'm realizing we're not that interesting, but we are more expensive. And the reason why we're more expensive, we understand why. But like the customer doesn't really feel that value. And I'm like, boss, like this AI, I'm asking for you to prove it to me so I can prove it to the customer. I don't believe it.
Oh, how can you sell when you don't believe in the product?
It's just or like why there's the gap, right? So like, you want to be a good salesperson, and the ultimate hack, pick a category king with good sales leadership and just work your fucking ass off following the good sales leadership. You will win. That's it.
It's funny you say category king, because I specifically used that language too.
I love play bigger.
So Yeah. So I'm
You read
glad
the book Play Bigger?
oh, what is that book?
You read the book Play Bigger. You know how to make a lot of money?
How?
3 ways. One, build a category king. Launch a company that's a category king. Two, work for a category king.
Yep.
Three, invest in a category king.
Mm.
That's it. Salesforce said no more software. They created a category. Tesla. Who else are they competing with in electric vehicles? Who the fuck knows? Right? Is the answer. They're winning. Category king.
Yeah. And then when I started at Oracle, it was like when the cloud hadn't boomed yet, and they had the on-premise database based on an IBM white paper. They created the best relational database and some other good products, but they were a category king for a long time for the database. They were the best. AT&T, all the big companies, I think we're running on it. The government, like Oracle, was like working with the CIA, right? They're running on Oracle. And so there's so many examples. And I think to the audience, do your homework to find those category kings. I mean, there's some good tools, Jared. Like, I mean, you could use RepView to find good companies and things, but partly like Gartner will recognize leaders. But any other guidance on where to go?
Category king, you want to do something like a fun experiment?
Yeah.
You know that they're a category king if they're like a big company and they don't have G2 reviews or other reviews on their landing page or close to the top. Certainly,
that's a good insight, because the smaller
look at Deal, look at Multiplier and everything. They post all the reviews. Look at Salesforce, and then look at Pipedrive. Look at the other ones.
Yeah.
Do that right now. Look at you're gonna be like, whoa, they have so many awards. Who out there knows what a Gartner cool vendor is? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
Who out there knows what a Western G2 new vendor in the assistant AI space means?
It's like the equivalent of participation trophies, you know?
No, it's just a fucking trophy that you get an invoice to get. It's not even a participation trophy. You can just buy it. I started something. I want to be a Gartner cool vendor.
I mean, that's
the thing. Let's buy it.
So good stuff. And so, you know what? We learned a lot about sales today. I loved how that exercise you took us through of like how to like make money off of LinkedIn posts. It was cool to see you in action, like calculating. It was actually quite.
That's just one thing.
Yeah. So let's finish up by talking about RevGenius. First of all, what is RevGenius? Why did you start this thing?
Yeah. So RevGenius, man, is a journey for me. I started it because I saw a massive gap in the space. I had no job. And I'm like, shit, it was really bad not having a job in COVID. So I'm like, I literally have to create it for myself. But what? There was like this inflection point where people just started posting on LinkedIn, and I'm like meeting people in the comments, throwing people in a DM group, meeting people in all these webinars because nobody's out there anywhere, realizing we all have a lot of similarities. And then started breaking LinkedIn every day and realizing that there was no community for everybody. There were some communities for senior leaders that you could pay for, others for senior leaders that were like email chains and some content sites. But there wasn't anything community for everybody. And I thought that was like really, really needed, especially during COVID, just like a space. So built it, grew hella fast, didn't put a business model in for a few months because I'm like, I could always fall back on sponsorships. But I want to let everybody in because I think that's a need. And I don't want to stop the flow coming in because I'm like, social media networks are like kind of the biggest grouping of people there, and they don't charge people to come in. So like, why me? And I'm like, I needed to not put any brakes on it. And I'm like, I'm already fucked with having no money. So let's just keep riding it. And then eventually I put a sponsorship model. So like we're a community of 50,000 sales, marketing, RevOps, customer success professionals. That's how we started.
Yeah.
I make money off of brands that want to be in front of those folks, like whether it's dinners or webinars or demo days is a big thing, or newsletters. We help brands like thoughtfully engage with the community to drive like trustworthy demand, not just like selling people something. And we have 50,000 members today, and it's been an exciting journey. As I said, like learned a lot about people, learned a lot about business, and I have I threw all these people in Slack. So like I didn't build anything. I'm a non-technical entrepreneur. I might even be less technical today than when I started because there's just so much to do. You don't have time to test workflows or anything. And yeah.
So what is community-based growth about? Like it seems to be a great mechanism for founders to grow their business. And like, how do you think about it? It seems like a category maybe that you're leading in.
So the category I'm creating is, overlaps with like, my for fun side newsletter, audience-led growth. So community, we have a community, but brands leverage us to grow their audience, right? Like, and to market it like that. We're really like an extension of their audience. The nuanced difference between community and audience is like audience is more of a demand lever. Community is more of people that are already in your product. So like you want to build loyalty to retain them, maybe build referral programs within them, all of that. So you can't you can't blatantly sell to a community because it's so sensitive. And if you do it right, they've already bought. So like you just want to encourage them to use your product better. So like the Clay community helping you with recipes, templates, like stuff that you actually want. And then the Clay audience, like, hey, have you seen this dope product that you could use for your business? A little, that was a salesy example. There's a little more finesse than that, but you get that idea. So community-led growth is leveraging the people that are using your product to tell more people. It's to gain raving fans and ambassadors and all of that. And the raving fans is also part of like audience-led growth, like folks that are into your content, and content is a big component of that audience-led growth part. Getting your ICP and persona attracted to the content around the product you're building, getting them in the ecosystem. So like if you have 1,000 followers that could all buy from you, now you can see who's engaging and stuff and reach out thoughtfully, like use that as some intent signaling or potential intent signaling that they might have interest. And what's cool about audience-led growth, whether it's, leveraging RevGenius or building audience yourself, is it's an extension of your product. You don't need, like, PLG is the right solution for a few dozen companies, but it's not for everybody, right? Building content allows people to get in your ecosystem, for lack of a better phrase, and like learn about you could help them through the content, like Gong showing you Gong Labs, right? Like, and like after speaking to 50,000 hours of sales calls, the average seller listens this much. Like people are like thirsty for that content, and it's helping them even outside Gong. And seeing the sales leaders that aren't using your product engage with that like heavily, you could be like, hey, I see you like gobbling up everything that we're giving. Like, are you open to talking about Gong? Like, it's more likely that they'll say, fuck, I've been meaning to reach out to you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, I gobble everything. I love it. Worst case scenario, it's like, nah, I don't have the budget for that or whatever, but thanks for putting out great content. It's a great conversation, right?
Yeah.
So
you
makes
get
things
knowledge.
Organic. Yeah.
Even if you don't get the sale, you get some acknowledgement and appreciation that's energizing and motivating, right? And there's value in that.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, it also gives you an opportunity to something else. Like, okay, I get it, it's not right yet. I have this report that like I have like only a rep could send you. I'm gonna just send it to you. Let me know when you're ready, because it feels like it's not no, it's not yet. Like, and have a good laugh at it, right?
And that's a real thing, by the way. I noticed like being able to appreciate when it's really not good timing, but there's an interest, and to just be able to think long-term, not be overly self-oriented and transactional in the moment, but like make sure you follow up. And then when the timing's right, boom. I've seen that like in some of my own deals, right? Where that's been really critical to
That's
just
being a homie too. Like there's such magnetism in walking away when somebody says no once. Like, don't keep pushing it. Like somebody says no, like it means like one of three things, like no, not yet, or I just have an objection to overcome, right? And if you're sure it's either no or not yet, fucking leave that conversation right then. And if it's an objection, put a little feeler out, like like see if it's an objection or not, and like a little rope, and then if it's not really an objection, it's really more like a not yet, pull it right out and say my bad, like let's talk then.
Yeah. Because sometimes you're right. You got to understand if it's an objection and if it's like a gap in information that you could illuminate, or a limiting belief, or some excuse that really isn't, I was gonna say legitimate. All objections are legitimate. You want to validate them, but you know what I'm saying? So, but otherwise though, if it's literally a hard no for really good reasons, you want to find that out. And then you, like you said, it shows magnetism to walk away, or it's not now. You walk away, you're not overly pushy. That builds trust, and boom, when the timing is right, you're there. And I do believe, I have an expression, Jared, like follow-ups fuel the finances. So just following up, whether it's to get the first meeting in the door or to close that deal that kind of pushed out, it's huge.
And be a homie, like
be a homie though. I won't forget that.
I only follow up looking for business if like somebody explicitly told me to. Like if I'm doing it on my own, like hey, I have something to share, or like I saw your competitor do this.
Yeah.
Are you doing that too yet? Like that's wild, right? Like you have new spaces. So like let's say you're trying to sell deal something or multiplier something, right? Like, hey, I saw a deal launch in the US. Are you doing that too? I didn't see that on your site, but like if you do, I have domestic shipping services, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, is that something you're doing? Like, when are you doing that? Because like I'd love to bid on that, like when the time is right or whatever.
You're noticing things that are going on, shifts. You're showing your thoughtfulness, and you're researching. You're sharing something relevant. Maybe I think you alluded to like bringing value, like an insight. And so that's what makes a good follow-up. Not like, oh, are you ready to buy? Or like just checking in, or any thoughts? Like you need to bring some substance and show thoughtfulness in those follow-ups.
You know, one of the biggest value drivers I gave to somebody, I've probably given bigger, but like the biggest, like away from like our business model. And that's what I say, like giving value and like being like that consultant, like get away from your business model and just give value on their business, like helping them. Once I was in e-commerce sales, B2B2C, and Shopify went public. And I told like, I don't know if it was my client or my prospect, I'm like, I'm really bullish on Shopify. Like I know those dudes. I like at the time, I had done like local meetups with like Harley and Tobias and like spoke in front of people. I'm like, they're pretty rad. A couple weeks later, the dude wrote me back and he's like, yo, you made me 15 grand. And I'm like, dope. First and foremost, Chris, whatever price it was then, if he kept that amount that made 15 grand in 2 years, I guarantee that is at least 6 figures today, maybe 7. That stock has been gangbusters. That is insane value I've dropped away from my business model.
Dude, that's amazing. And like, if they're a halfway decent,
I had money to invest at the time, I would have.
Dude, if they're a halfway decent human, they would acknowledge you for that and appreciate for that. And dude, talk about reciprocity is a thing. It's not manipulative, but when we contribute to someone, they're going to feel an urge, because it's part of being a human, to want to contribute back, you know, or be more open.
Well, the universe will give it to you regardless. And they're not going to be mean to you. Like they'll be like, worst case scenario, they'll be like taking your calls. I promise. I made my senior year in high school chemistry teacher money on a stock tip as well. Coincidentally, like different years. And he gave me an A- in that class that I did not deserve an A-.
See, and so the life, like at first we might go through school, and it's funny you mentioned a school example, and think that I do this, I get this result. Like I do the follow the rules, whatever. But that's an example of just like almost something I call grace, like unmerited favor. But like applying a principle of like contributing to people, and that abundance comes back to you. So I feel like that manifests itself in the reality of living, especially once you get out of college and also into business. So I love that story. That is so cool. You got an A- that you didn't deserve.
I didn't even care. Like, truthfully, like I just really geeked out over the stock and talking to him about it and like wanting to have non-chemistry conversations and just like keep it fucking real. And it was always my jam to take people out of their lanes into like who they really were. Like it was just like a game I played. Like, oh, you're a chemistry teacher, but I know you really love hanging with your friends and drinking on Friday nights. Like just be that person, you know?
And that's you being a homie too with your customers, getting to know them getting to know you. And that creates just a personal, emotional connection that might sound funny to say, but I think the emotional kind of connection we have with prospects is the biggest factor influencing our win probabilities for deals, you know? And it comes down to like being a homie, you know?
It really does. And then on your pipeline reviews and closing, you have shit to drop. Like, hey, I think the deal is going to close in 2 weeks, not next week, because he's got his daughter's dance recital. They're going with the family to here. And actually, I'm putting it in 2 weeks, but here's an edge case, like where it might go across. Like, yeah.
It's because of the relationship. You have such access and communication that you have like ultimate control of the deal, and you can give your leadership that like granular updates. And that's powerful. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And even if you don't have, you have more control and you have more better chances and all of that. Yeah. And it's wild. Like what are next steps? Next steps are wait, no. You got to move it in the process. I get it. But trust, like what? Like why are you saying that?
I remember at Oracle, like my first deal I closed was when I was an SDR, not in a closing role, because my account executive was at a bachelor party. What a unique opportunity that catalyzed my career, helped me get promoted. And I remember the manager, the account executive, so not my boss, but the boss of the guy in the role above me, was working with me on the deal. And he's like, we need to get this, like the customer hasn't responded, we need the PO. And I actually did say, wait, and it was the right thing and it came in. And it's like, maybe the deal, even if we were annoying, it would have still happened. But to me, that was an aha moment of what you just described. Like sometimes we need to not sell and wait.
Dude, everybody wants revenue yesterday. Everyone has goals this month, maybe this week, maybe this day, if it's transactional enough. And I'm just saying, like, if those goals don't align with you and your customers, like energy, like align with that, it might, you might miss your number for a month, but I promise as soon as that turns on, it's like not gonna ever miss again. Like yeah, you short term you might be off, but like everything will fall into place. And you know, in closing with this conversation, I want to be conscious with time and stuff, like consistency with yourself, right? Like that could be a diet and a weight plan. It could be reading a book, but there's 3 levels to our beings, physical being one. And we either know or can research how to improve that, right? Like, or talk to a trainer at the gym. And that's put on a pedestal. Like, oh, wow, did you see that person? He got in really good shape or got jacked, or her. That's great. Mental is 2. And we know how to do that. Like it could be reading a book, getting another degree, taking a course, doing a program, and we try our best there. And that's applauded. But when it comes to emotional, it's kind of like take a pill or a stigma, or I can't meditate, I don't have to, or whatever. Like if you want to be congruent top to bottom, you need to be consistent. Like you consistently read a book at night, or the next business book. You consistently go to the gym or have a plan to start on Monday or the new year, and you're going to do it. And it's calories and it's everything. But that emotional layer is why people that lose weight gain it back often, right? Like it's why that successful person keeps having unsuccessful relationships. It's why that person hits $1 million in quota and feels down or whatever. When we are consistent with ourselves, like let's say meditation once or twice a day with the goal of twice a day for 15 minutes, then we integrate the fears and allow us to align with the other 2 layers and be here now and get out of the fucking way. And be conscious. And joy, authentic joy, is realizing nobody's going to be happy 100% of the time. I don't care. Like, you do all the things I just said, you're not happy 100% of the time. Sorry. But you're happy some of the time. And happiness, and is it more of the time than if you didn't do it? Maybe a little, but it's not whatever. Happiness is a time of rest, joy, laughter. Like, that's great. Like fuck yeah. But unhappiness or difficulties is a time of growth, and you can't grow during happiness. So if your whole life is being happy, chilling, whatever, or growing, that's kind of a dope place to be in. Like, bask in that. Like, that's joy. Like, that's real. That's realistic. So be happy, be joyful in both. Like, happiness is an up thing, and like, be even keel. Like, don't let this happiness make you go through the roof or this down make you go down. Just be chill on both. Like, hey, it was a good day. Fuck yeah. Hey, it was a bad day. Jocko, good.
Yeah.
Even keel both ways, because being even keeled is going to be your superpower in sales or in entrepreneurship. And then regardless of what path you take, like, if you want to do something, do it today. If you're not sure about it, do it because you feel unconfident about the finances. Do it as a side hustle. That's being more welcome than anything. But Roger Avery, like, you want to be a director, be a director. Let everything fall into place. And if you're integrating your emotions in the process, there's less likely you're going to be in your own way with your fears in doing that. That's it.
May we figure out what we want to do and do it today.
Yeah.
And every step of the way be even keel. Like that. What a great take home message. And Jared, this has been an amazing conversation. Like, we got inspired. We were thinking differently. We learned sales tips, entrepreneurial tips. We learned about community-led growth and RevGenius, which I'm excited about. And I've linked RevGenius and your LinkedIn profile.
And Audience House and audience-led growth, my weekly newsletter there.
So Audience House as well. It's going to be linked in the description of this video. So, hey, thank you for making time and sharing generously. It's going to be an amazing new year. And to the audience, to your success in tech sales, entrepreneurship, and in life, happy selling and happy living. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, Jared.
Thanks for having me, Chris.